Welcome to the DISCflex certification program for leading teams through their team governing behavior and through the individual DISC reports. We never want a team leader to go in not knowing what to expect, especially with regard to challenges. So this page in the team report is all about the potential challenges that that particular team leader with that particular behavior pattern and those particular scores in their own individual and unique behaviors will find when they are addressing this team, this particular team. So it is highly customized to the team leader's behavior and to the team's governing behavior. What happens is we highlight specific information about the team leader's potential challenges. The team leader has bewares that we give them, and we give them feedback about the challenges that they might face because of the behavioral profile they currently have and in the team behavior profile. And then finally, we don't just tell them, oh, beware, beware, beware. We give them some really seriously great tips, just like an executive coach would give them, about how to deal with these challenges and overcome any potential challenges before they turn into burning fires. So we're letting them kind of read the smoke signals before it burns the team or burns them. You don't ever want that to happen. So this team leader challenge page is really great coaching advice, and it opens up those dialogues about the team that quite possibly would have happened after the team leader had been with the team for a while. We can preempt and strategize about those discussions and help the team leader on board with tips and tactics and ways to behave to make the entry onto the team so much more powerful and positive. That is the goal with this. The next page of the team report is really about the team's patterns. We want to put all of the patterns onto one page so that we can see if we are missing any patterns and how much diversity we have in this team. And if you look at this particular team, you'll see that we have one D, one C, one DI, one DS, one DC, two ISs, and one DIS. And we're missing quite a few patterns in this team, which will, if you needed those types of people, would set the team up in some regard for failure in certain areas that had to be compensated for. Whether you're going to build those skill sets or hire the next person to have those skill sets, you want to know where those behavioral gaps are so that it doesn't hurt the team in terms of behavioral diversity. And behavioral diversity means doing things differently or looking at situations differently so that you overcome potential challenges and that you anticipate any blind spots that you might have because of behavioral missing pieces. Very, very, very important on this. And then you'll see if there's any tilting on the team towards a specific behavioral capability or tendency that might have been from a legacy leader or a legacy job description, because like hires like. And if you're looking at job descriptions, for example, that are reading the same all the time to be on that team, of course you're going to potentially lack behavioral diversity, either by design or because it just wasn't thought of. But at least those discussions can happen because we know how many patterns of behavior we have on that team. The next thing we look at is really the number of people that have the pattern on this team. And these bars on this particular page really do give you a snapshot view of what the makeup, a behavioral pattern makeup is of this team, which is critically important. So I think that this is a really important page. Now, some people like bar graphs and some people like more of a visual pattern image. So what we've done is we have displayed the exact same results in a different fashion, and that is what the patterns are next. So let's show them to you. Again, this looks at the behavioral groupings, but it looks at it in more of a picture type orientation. Some coaches and some clients need the pictograph rather than the bar chart, and you won't know which client is which client. So we've displayed it in two different ways, which is pretty good. Now you can see the different patterns that you have there, and the added benefit of this chart is we do the percentage makeup of the pattern in this particular grouping. So you'll look and you will see that we have one person in this team, which is 13% of the team, is a high D. Over here, because we have two people who are high S's, that makes up 25% of this particular team. So you're seeing it displayed a little bit differently, and we're adding the benefit of the percentage of the pattern that is in this team, which I think is extremely important to know, because you could get a pattern that is overpowering the rest and over-governing the rest, because it's just more people of that particular pattern, and maybe group thinking, and in worst cases, bullying behavior, where it's their behavior pattern that is locked in and they don't allow any other behaviors around it. So you would be able to analyze that with these percentage charts and the pattern charts quite easily. Now let's look at the next page, which is my, believe it or not, personal favorite. This is our scatter analysis, our scatter diagram analysis. And what we did was we stripped off all of the scores of every single team member and homogenized them. So you can't tell who it is, you can't tell the pattern, but what we've done is we plotted every single score in the team on a dot diagram by DISC factor. So we have stripped out all of the D's, the I's, the S's, and the C's in the team and put them on this scatter diagram, which is fantastic. Now, in this particular team, you will notice that everybody in that team has a D above the line. Wow. Now, if this is a team of leaders or executives, you would expect that, because people who typically rise into the executive ranks do have the tendency to have a dominant D type of personality somewhere, or behaviors somewhere in their personality profiles, in their behavioral profiles. That is not unusual. The problem with that is, and in this particular area, we don't have anybody who's stepping on the brakes with the lower D. And that is something I, as a coach, would bring up, especially to the team leader, that you might have this hard charging team running off down the path with chaos and not enough thinking and not enough strategizing. And that would be something that they would want to watch out for. The next thing you would look for is, on this particular chart is, are they talkative? Do they like each other? And you'll notice here that we have 4 people above the line on I and 3 people below. So you might have a situation where some people group up and talk a lot and talk over the 3 that don't talk as much. So there's also something to watch out for in a team and to counsel against. Some people might be reluctant to speak up, especially if these other people with high I's are extremely persuasive. And sometimes, it can go to the dark side, and they could broach on to manipulation, verbal manipulation, which is not very good, or shutting down the less forthcoming verbal teammates. And that's something to be watched out for. And we watch these behaviors and we counsel against that. And then on the next side, we've got the S's. And the good thing about this team is that you'll notice that we have 6 people out of the 7 who are above the line in thoughtfulness. So the D behavior that I was worried about in this particular team, where they were charging out without thinking, probably isn't true here. Because if we're looking at it, we have a high level of strategic thinking. Again, it is not unusual for a team of executives or senior leadership to have both the D and a high grouping of S in these quadrants, balancing each other out. And it makes sense that somebody getting into the executive ranks would have to be strategic as well as motivated to get into that realm. The only thing you have to worry about here is if those thinkers aren't aligned. So it would be prudent, if I were the executive coach of this team, is I would make sure they would get together frequently, at least on a quarterly basis, to make sure that the strategic plans aren't diving off into different directions, because the high D with the S doesn't mean that they're aligned. So we would want some alignment. Now, alignment is a C strategy, strategic behavior. So let's see how they do on C. Uh-oh. Oh my goodness. I'm not breathing here. So we have one person who's in the highest quadrant, high, on the C. And then we have 2 who are medium high and 4 who are below the line. So what I just mentioned about the C being the composite, the organization, the alignment component is probably not happening on this team. Or if it happens, it's because they've got a really strong leader. Maybe their leader has the highest C. So you would want to dive into that.